Do you struggle with body image? How long does it take for you to achieve this body, and what's your age now? Do you have your period? Whether or not a woman should take creatine? How to get rid of bloating? How do I stay disciplined? How did you get your abs? How do I eat this much food? Hacks to identify your personal, not physical, strengths and weaknesses. What my workouts look like right now. And I do want to share the craziness of that.
Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time.
Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode here on my Challenge Your Norm podcast, where today we're doing a Q&A, and I'm going to rapid fire it because I've got a podcast guest coming soon, so we'll just get as many of these questions answered as possible until she gets here. And the first question/questions that I got quite a few of have to do with how to get rid of bloating. If you followed my YouTube journey, you know that I have spent years dealing with a ton of bloating. And this summer, I committed after speaking with the AIP queen, Sophie Richards, which you potentially have seen or listened to our podcast episode together here on this Challenge Your Norm podcast. And after I completed a full month on the AIP diet, which is you take out anything that could potentially make you bloated. We're talking grains, coffee, anything processed. There's only certain vegetables you can have. You can't have normal like pasta and potatoes, only sweet potatoes. You can have meats, little bit of fruit, some vegetables. You can have dairy, you can't have gluten. There's like very, very few things that you can have. I would recommend that you go listen to that episode that I made with her if you're interested in the AIP diet, or go watch my YouTube video that I made on it, because in that YouTube video I explain the diet in detail. After I'd gone on that, I feel like I healed a lot of my issues. It felt like my body just went through a little bit of a cleanse. But what it also helped me realize were the things that I tend to potentially be a little extra sensitive to. For instance, I can't have too much fruit. I used to eat like 10 apples a day when I used to dance full time. It was like my craving, I think, because it was fresh. There was sugar. Oh my gosh. I just loved eating apples. And I think my body has developed some sort of response to now when I eat too much fruits that have high sugars. So I tend to stay away from that. And since I did the AIP diet, I've slowly introduced all other foods back into my system, and I don't really deal with bloating anymore. I think it's because I do eat a pretty whole foods based diet. I will sometimes have something processed, but I'll have like 1 scoop of protein powder a day if I have any. I'll eat meats, eggs, vegetables, some fruits like I mentioned, but not too much because that can lead me to feeling bloated. But when I just like am eating pretty clean and plain and have just a little bit of treats as well, I haven't been having any bloating issues. And I think every single body is so different. So I've gone through different experiments, and the AIP was like the final, like, I'm over this. I don't want to deal with this bloating anymore. And since I did that, I just feel like it's reset my system and I feel so much better right now. I will say I've had bowel movement issues since I was a little child. So I have still had some issues with that, but I take this 1UP Nutrition called Daily Cleanse. It has pretty clean ingredients, ginger root, like green things into a little capsule, and it helps me use the restroom daily. So that's been really helpful. I started using that supplement like 5 years ago because I started working with 1UP Nutrition, and they did give me a code at the time that I still have if you want to give this a try, if you've been having bowel movement issues and not be able to use the bathroom, which is Pernilla. But my biggest advice on if you're dealing with bloating is trying cutting out different things until you figure out what foods make you feel bloated, so that you can get to the solution of it. Another question that I got was whether or not a woman should take creatine. I've been taking creatine now for about 1.5 years, and reading more studies on this and just having used it for so long and hearing other experts' opinions on this supplement that is the most studied supplement out there inside of like the fitness industry, I do now recommend it more than I did when I first started, because it really can just help 10% 100% improve your strength and your performance and your brain function and your recovery. It can help you increase your muscle mass, because this is what a lot of females fear. They fear that they'll get more water retention, like when you're bloated or you eat like high sodium meals or you're on your period. But that's not how creatine will affect your body. Creatine, yes, it will let your body hold on to more water, but the water is going to be stored inside of the muscle. So you'll actually be looking more lean than if you were to not take it. If you're new to weight training, I don't see any reason why you would need to take creatine. But if you've been weight training for a while and you feel called to give it a try, I highly recommend. And the weight gain is so tiny. Like, it's just a little bit, and it's only going to make you look more lean. Like I have mentioned previously on this podcast and my YouTube everywhere that I weighed the same that I did years ago, but my body looks so different because my muscle percentage and my body fat percentage is so different to what it was back in the day. So I would not be fearful of that. And I also do feel that a lot of us are moving away, which I'm very happy about, moving away from this idea that we have to be as skinny as possible, as light as possible, to feeling badass and strong and building that muscle, which will help us not only feel strong, but with longevity and just feeling so powerful every single day. How much protein should you eat a day? I feel like I've talked about this so much, but try to aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So if I were 130, let's say, I would try and aim for 130 grams of protein. If you're really trying to, really build muscle while also being lean, you may even want just a tiny bit more, but certain studies have showed that you don't need it. And others, like bodybuilders, they will take in a little bit more protein than their body weight, just because other studies have shown that it could potentially be beneficial. It also helps with you just feeling so much more full and satisfied. So many people who join my challenges, I've spoken about this so much, but it's because I keep hearing it from these beautiful individuals that I've increased my protein intake and now I'm like, how do I eat this much food? It's just insane how much different it makes us feel when we increase our protein and veggie intake and just like whole foods in general. How did you get your abs? I actually want to answer this because it's something I get all the time, even though I've spoken about it before. Getting abs has to do with your overall body fat percentage. It does also have to do with genetics, but if I had, let's say, 10% more body fat than I have right now, my abs would most likely not be visible. But because I have lowered my body fat percentage and increased my muscle mass, my abs are going to be more visible. We all will store fat in different areas. So for some people, it may be your midsection. For me, it's more so my thighs and my legs. It's everywhere. I think we all store our fat everywhere, but certain places in our body are more stubborn. And I could be annoyed that it doesn't look like I have lean legs, even though I'm like 12% body fat. But that's just because a lot of the body fat I do have is stored on my legs. But instead of seeing that as like, oh, that sucks, I'm like, let me frickin' just crush my leg workouts that much harder so that I can prove to myself that even though maybe I don't have the genetics of a pro runner from the Olympics, let me just prove that I'm capable of spending, let's say, 10 years to build and develop the legs that I want to. Not because I'm gonna feel better or love myself more if I end up having the legs and the glutes of my dreams, but because I love a challenge. I love setting myself a challenge and moving towards that challenge. I think it's always going to be the journey that makes life fun. I've had so many goals in my life where once I reached it, I realized, oh my gosh, it was the journey. So I'm really, really practicing both setting the goals that I know are going to make the journey fun, but also enjoying the journey and the process. I got a lot of messages about binge eating, and I've spoken about that a lot on my podcast previously. I also do have some meditations and different videos that I have given away on my Instagram, and in my challenges we speak about this a lot. But binge eating for me has been a coping mechanism. Just like for some people, when they are experiencing feelings inside that they don't know how to deal with, they gravitate towards alcohol or drugs or whatever coping thing that they tend to do to kind of escape from their emotions. And I think it's worth, even if you're not a journaler, it's worth sitting down. Let's say you just had a binge eating session. It's worth sitting down and asking yourself, how am I actually feeling? What had gone through my mind? What have I gone through throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the last month that feel uncomfortable, that I potentially am not paying attention to, asking yourself, what do I actually need in the moment when I want to cope with feeling good instantly through the foods that I maybe potentially don't even need because I've already finished my dinner and my full day of eating and my night snack? What do I actually need? And when we have these conversations on my community challenge calls, which if you don't know, I run these challenges every month, and we've built this beautiful community where we have deep conversations each week about things like this and everything life related. And something that when we dive deep into this on our conversations, it's when I ask the person who's struggling with some sort of coping mechanism, oftentimes binge eating, what they realize is, wow, it's actually because I feel anxious and stressed at work. Then let's say in the middle of my workday, when it's 3 p.m. and I've been working all day, what I really need is I just need to step outside and breathe and connect with myself. That's really what I need. But what I do is I grab 3 cookies and keep working. And then, we together make a deal with each other. Okay, so for the next 7 days, are you committing to, when you feel this urge to go grab those cookies, you step outside and you breathe and you connect with yourself and you ask your heart if there's anything that you need to pay attention to that you haven't? And same at night, if you tend to binge eat at night, what do you actually need? Is it because you're lonely? Is it because you're stressed? Is it because you need to speak with your partner about a topic that you haven't spoken with them about? What do you actually need? I think that's where I'll leave it at for now, but my journaling challenges, I make new journaling challenges now every month inside of my community for the people who join my challenges. And in there, they discover so many sides to themselves and have realizations as to why they do the things that they do through these different journaling prompts. So ask yourself different questions. Maybe you can join my challenge and get my journaling prompts, or you can find other ones from other people who do journaling questions, but dive deep into it. It's easy to escape our challenges and neglect taking care of what we actually need, but only if we dare to dive deep into it can we actually heal it, can we actually release it, can we actually work through it. Now, on a side note to that, I got a lot of these questions, and one of them was more so, how do I stop eating at night? Like, I'm done eating for the day. How do I stop eating at night? And this is exactly what I've gone through and have been doing for the last, I think, 3 weeks now. And it is beautiful and incredible. I made a commitment with my friend, which has to do with eating at night. I know for a fact I sleep better if I stop eating after my dinner. I love a night snack. A night snack is my favorite thing. And I'm annoyed every single night that I made this commitment with my friend, because night snacks, oh my yumminess, they are so delicious. But I made a very, very clear commitment with my friend that after I've eaten my dinner, I no longer will eat food. And we made this like very clear, very serious commitment. Like I looked her in her eye and I promised. And so because I fully committed and got clear, I'm not going to dismiss our promise. She made another promise to me. So what that has done for me for the last 3 weeks is I sleep so much better. My digestion is so much better. I wake up hungry. So today at 9 a.m., I get up very early, but today at 9 a.m., I had already eaten around 800 or 900 calories. So it's not that I eat less calories. Like I just make sure to eat it throughout the day instead of right before I go to bed. So it has nothing to do for me. Like I'm at maintenance. I'm not losing weight. I'm not gaining weight. I'm literally just at maintenance. I am trying to build more muscle, like slow body recomp. But there is such power to, if you know that something isn't good for you, making the commitment to changing it. And yes, our comfortable brain is not going to want to do it, and especially not in the moment. But if you can either make it, like I have made other clear commitments to myself that I'm doing right now, which we'll get into when we start speaking about my workout program. But those are just commitments I've made to myself where it's like, it's non-negotiable. I'm just doing that. But you could do that with yourself if you know that you can trust yourself in that way. But you could also make a commitment with a friend or someone who you know is going to like keep you accountable in committing to that promise that you want to make. So if you're someone who eats late at night, often actually a lot of the people in my group challenges will make these like weekly commitments to ourselves. And one of them was like, okay, this week, for the next 7 days, you guys keep me accountable. In 7 days, I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you that, no, I did not leave my bed to go get a night snack. And because she said that commitment and the entire group heard it, she's most likely not going to do it. So there's such power to having accountability partners or just like sharing it out loud with someone. So if you are someone who's struggling with something, it could be eating late at night, it could be something completely different. Make the commitment either with yourself or someone else and make sure that you stick to it. That's also how we build confidence. The best best way to build confidence is keeping the freaking promises that we make to ourselves. And the more we do it, the better we get at it. And something I keep telling myself is I want it to be hard. I want it to be challenging. I want to choose the hard route because that is the only way I'm going to grow. If I continuously stay inside of my comfort zone, I'm not going to go anywhere. I know this. I know that every time I've really made massive progress in my life, every time I've felt the most fulfilled, it's been when I have decided to do the thing that feels hard in the moment, but so fulfilling long term. So what's that for you? It's so tough to maintain discipline. How do I stay disciplined? Ooh, this is powerful. And especially right now, because I am in my disciplined era. I'm always pretty disciplined. I think compared to a normal person, I think people would say that I am a disciplined human, but right now I am more disciplined than ever. And it starts with one little keeping of promise. I feel like when you set yourself one goal of one challenge a day, it compound effects like crazy into all other areas of your life. Now, I want to start basic. I want to start off with saying the thing that you know, but you may need a reminder if you've been lacking in discipline, which is you have to have a very clear goal. Like, what is it that you want? Next up is why is it that you want it? Like, you need to get really, really clear on the why. And what I recommend is that if you have like a semi-what why, to use the 7 whys method, which is where you ask yourself 7 times in a row. I think I mentioned it on a previous episode recently, where it's like you have a goal to get in shape and then you realize, wait, that goal isn't good enough. Okay, I have just taken a DEXA scan and I'm currently at 30% body fat and I want to get to 25% body fat. Okay, why do I want that? Because I want to look good. Why do I want to look good? No, actually, it's because I want to feel good. Okay. Why do I want to feel good? Because when I feel good, I show up so much better for my kids. I show up so much better at work. I have more energy. I sleep better. Because when I need to get to 25% body fat, I'll eat healthier, which is just going to influence my entire freaking life. Well, why do I want all of these things? It's because I only have one life and I want to feel good in my life. Why do I want to feel good in my life? Because I want to set an example for my kids that it does not matter what or where you come from, you are in control of your life. And I want to represent that for my kids so that they can grow up and they can choose that for themselves as well. And if I keep making excuses, then they are just going to mirror what they have seen me do. And I want them to live the best freaking life ever. So I am going to do this both so that I can feel and live the best life ever, but also so that my kids can. Okay, why is that? And then you go deeper and deeper and deeper. Like really get to the core of why it is that you want this thing. Now, the next thing after that is creating a system, creating a plan. If you want discipline, you can't just show up and think that you'll figure it out as you go. No, if you want discipline, you need to have a plan because your lazy brain is going to kick in very, very quickly. You need to know the exact plan for you to get there and every single day be able to check off, maybe in a habit tracker or a daily to-do list, all the things that you got done of the day. That will help you with a little dopamine release and a good feeling and wanting to continuously do this hard work. And it'll also just not make you have the question inside as to whether or not you should do it. No, you have a plan, you've committed to it, you're doing it. And something that I have really dove deep into recently, which we've always used when it comes to if we want to get in shape, we've used it for our training and our nutrition, for example, tracking. So tracking your workouts. We all know that if we want to actually build muscle, we have to progressively overload our muscles and train with a progressive overload training program. So we track what we did this week, and then we know that next week we have to just push ourselves a little bit harder, and then the following week a little bit harder. And because we have it written down, what we did the previous week, we'll know that, okay, this week I have to just push myself a little bit harder. And by tracking, we can't lie to ourselves. There's no like, what should I do today? No, you can see it on this piece of paper or on this tracking device that you are using, that this is what you did the previous week. And if you want to grow, you have to do so and so this week. Same with our nutrition. If we track our food, if we actually choose to become aware of what am I actually putting in my body every day, there's no more sneaking around hiding things. It's like, it's so clear. Okay, the reason I haven't been losing weight, even though I thought I was in a caloric deficit, is because I'm actually eating 500 calories more than I thought, because I wasn't tracking the oil. I wasn't tracking the little chocolate pieces. I wasn't tracking the salad dressing. It's like, no, I now know exactly what I'm eating. And because I've tracked and know exactly what I currently am eating, I can now, with this new awareness, make the changes that I need in order for me to see the results that I want. But I've started using this with tracking my day. I've, for the last 4 days, tracked every single thing that I do in the day. I've also previously done this for my finances, like really tracked what, like we can't just expect our finances to get better if we aren't actually making sure that we're tracking what's coming in and what's going out and where's that money going towards. If we have awareness of where the things are going, we can then take action to change the things that need to be changed. And like I mentioned, the last 4 days I've been tracking my time. And the reason I actually started doing that was because I saw a YouTube video speaking about tracking your deep work, like 4 hours a day of deep work, tracking that, and how he was mentioning, it's Ali Abdaal. You probably know that YouTuber. He shares a lot of educational content. He was sharing how there's this book where they tell you to track your deep work for 4 hours a day. And he said how so many people, when they start doing this, they realize that they're actually not spending as much time working as they think they are. And so I wanted to see what I was doing. And what I realized is that the amount of tasks that I get done in a day, also because I have 1,000 projects and things going on constantly, it's insane. Like there's like 100 things on my list. The only time when I don't have 100 times on a list is when I'm going into some sort of deep edit work, where it's like I spend 8 hours that day on some sort of editing. But from those days that I've put down, it's actually like I was blown away by how much I get done, which is also like, now that I'm aware of that, it's like, okay, that's cool. Should I be doing all these things, or are certain things that I should potentially think about delegating because I'm doing all these things? How could I make it easier for myself? So with that being said, we were speaking about discipline. I do think that there's so much power to being aware of what we're eating, how we're training, how we're spending our money, how we're spending our time, like whatever area it is that you want to develop discipline in, develop this level of awareness, because only when you have that awareness as to where whatever it is it's going or you're doing within that area, can you then make the changes that are necessary for you to develop this discipline. Maybe you realize that you scroll on your phone 5 hours a day. Have you checked your phone screen time? Maybe that may be something to look into if you feel like you're someone who hasn't gotten a lot of time, but then you see, oh wow, I actually spent this much time on YouTube, this much time on Netflix, and this much time scrolling on social media. Actually, potentially, I could decrease my screen time and get some of the things done that I actually want to get done, that are going to move me in the direction of the things that I truly care about. All right, next question. Let's see. There's so many. I don't think we're going to get through all of them, but we'll take a couple more. Hacks to identify your personal, not physical, strengths and weaknesses. Literally journal. Write down, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? And you could say to yourself, okay, I need to write 20 things in each box or 10 things in each box. It's literally just sitting down with yourself and thinking about, okay, at work, what are my strengths and what could I potentially get better at? Okay, in my home life, with my family or my partner, or in my relationships, what am I really good at and what may need some improvement? And just writing down whatever comes to you. You can either set a timer or you can set like how many things you need to come up with before you're done. And it's like, you can't get up till you're done. I like to do that. And then sometimes at first, if we have to do a challenging little question thing like that, then at first it can seem like nothing is coming to you. But then when you get to maybe 5, 6, 7, then it starts flowing and answers pop up. How tall are you? I'm 5'8". Do you take pre-workout? Tips on how to get a solid workout in without caffeine. Like I mentioned, I was on the AIP diet with 0 coffee and obviously 0 pre-workout, and I can have incredible workouts. I've had many, many seasons in my life where I don't do pre-workout. I do a little pre-workout right now, and I feel like it sets me up for some incredible workouts. I'm really having incredible workouts right now, which there was a question about what my workouts look like right now. And I do want to share the craziness of that. I have increased the intensity a lot. I have for a long time done 2 leg days a week and have recently started doing 3 leg days a week. And I think I'll mention this. I think I'll just share it with you guys. I have decided to write a book. And the book is, I've already started. You know how some people will say, I'll write a book, but I will start in a little bit. I've always thought, okay, I'm going to write a book, but probably in like 10 years when I actually have some wise wisdom to share with people. But 2 weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, I was in my meditation and it just came to me, boom, you have to write a book, and here's the title. The title and the theme is everything that I have been learning myself and preaching about ever since I started my fitness journey. And I think it's very normal for us to be like, okay, I got that idea. I'll start with that in a little bit because I literally have so many other things I'm working on right now. But I committed. I was like, wow, this feels so clear in my mind. And I have this idea right now. I am going to commit to every single day, just do one little thing on the book 5 days a week. I'm going to do just a little thing on the book. And what that's led to from just 2 months is I've written a couple of chapters. I've written the outline, which keeps changing because the more I think about the book, the more I realize how I do want it to be. I feel like with any big project, it's like you have one idea at first and then the final product ends up being something completely different. But every single day I'm doing a little something. I'm doing that because I know that it's like so easy to say like, oh, no, I'll do it later. But I don't want to miss out on this opportunity when it's this clear in my mind, because every time I've had an idea come to me being this clear in my mind, it's led to something life-changing. And I know that theme and the messages in this book could really change the directory of people's lives. So I'm doing that. But all of that was to say that this book has to do with, as you know, my podcast is called Challenge Your Norm. And this book has to do with challenging your norm in a bit of a different way, but same concept. And I don't ever want to be a person that says something that they don't practice themselves. Yes, of course, I'm human and I'll fall off sometimes, right? Like I'll have my down days, I'll, fall off track a little bit and then I'll jump back on, obviously. But if I'm going to write this book, I want to live what I preach. And so I have committed since I got in shape, or since I really started this platform, I have done these 10-minute sprints. I don't like them. They are intense and hardcore and I'm always not wanting to do them. But it's just 10 minutes. 10 minutes of misery in my day and me feeling proud of myself for the rest of the day and it giving me power in so many different areas in my life. And I can run longer, but 10 minutes is all I have to do that every day unless it's a leg day. So my commitment while I'm writing this book, and I love that I'm sharing this with you guys because then you can keep me accountable as well. But this is one of the things, I'm so committed to this. I don't even need an accountability partner. I don't have my friend as an accountability partner for this. This is just a decision I've made with myself. If I'm going to write this book, I'm going to live what I preach. And so every single day I'm either doing this sprint. Also, obviously I'm doing my other working out on top of that. And it also leads to either running afterwards or just walking on the treadmill while I'm working on my computer. I tend to bring my computer on the treadmill and do some final work tasks of the day. But I have committed to that. So I'm doing 3 leg days a week. And then I'm also doing these sprints every day. I'm of course doing my upper body workouts. And upper body, I'll do either 2 or 3 per week. So that's what my workout program looks like. Every one of my leg days are glute focused. I'll do Mondays and Thursdays leg day from the challenge. And then I have an extra thing I'll do whatever I kind of feel like for the last day. And then I do the upper body workout from my challenge as well. The only thing is that if I do an extra upper body day, I may switch around the days. So I don't have as much rest days as a normal human should have rest days. But here's the thing. The more our body adapts to training hard, the more it will be capable and able to do. So a normal human should not go and work out 6 days a week. A normal human should take maybe 4 rest days, 3 rest days, 2 rest days. But because I've been doing this for so long, my body is capable of doing more and more and more the more I do it. So I don't recommend this to anyone, but this is what I'm doing right now. And when it comes to abs, I typically will definitely do abs on my upper body days and then a little bit as well on my leg days. We have the ab workouts inside of my community challenges as well. So yeah. That's what my workout split looks like right now. And the funny thing is I'll train for an hour and a half leg day, let's say, but that 10-minute sprint, oh my goodness, I'm never looking forward to it. But afterwards, I feel so powerful. I feel so proud of myself. And it is wild what just one challenging thing a day can do to how you take action on everything else, how you show up within every other part of your life. It's absolutely wild. I recommend this all the time, that if you're feeling like you're lacking joy in your life, you're feeling like you're a little bit lost, you have a goal but you tend to fall off it, if you were to just take one challenging action a day. And I'm not saying that needs to be a 10-minute sprint. For you, a challenging task may look like putting on your shoes and going for a 5-minute walk. If that's not something you normally do, if that's something you typically would say you'd want to do, but then you don't do it anyway, if that's the one uncomfortable thing you do that day, you've improved. You have challenged your norm. You have leveled up. Because the next day you'll be more likely to do it. And then the next day you may walk for 10 minutes. And then 1 month later, that may lead to a 30-minute walk every single day. And eventually that may lead to a 30-minute jog. And eventually in 1 or 2 years from now, you may be like, you know what? I'm going to sign up for a marathon. It's the tiny little action. Every single person that becomes successful, they become successful because they took the tiny little action steps. I have no clue how to write a book. I was never good in school. I was never good at writing. When I got this idea, that was some of the first thoughts that came to my mind. It's like, but I can't write a book. But I caught that thought and I was like, you know what? Hell no. I'm going to take it one little baby step at a time and research and figure it out as I go. And from just taking one little action step a day on this book that I'm writing on top of my full-time job, I'm every day learning a little bit more, realizing, wow, I actually just completed a chapter in a book. That's wild. I didn't know I could ever do that. But if I keep taking these tiny little action steps when it comes to writing a book, which I have absolutely no clue to how to even, I don't know how to publish a book. I don't know how to write a book. Where do you start? But if I just every day research a little bit, write a little bit, little by little, I'm going to figure it out. And I think with anything in life, any goal, it's just about committing to the fact that I'm just going to take one little baby step at a time. And little by little, those days add up. Those baby steps add up, and suddenly we have created something that we potentially thought wasn't actually ever going to be possible. That's how we create a good life, isn't it? I think so. Okay, we will take 2 more questions and then we may do a part 2. I ask these questions on my Instagram stories. By the way, if you ever have any questions for me that you would like for me to go over on my podcast, you can write a comment, I believe on Spotify, but what I would really love is if you would like voice note something to me on Instagram and I can respond to it here on this podcast or just make a whole podcast episode about it. I think that would be amazing. How long does it take for you to achieve this body and what's your age now? Thanks. I'm 29. I'm turning 30 this year, which is wild. And how to achieve the body I have now, it so depends on what your starting point is, right? Like if you have to go from 50% body fat down to 20% body fat, that's going to take a long time. But like I started off this podcast episode with of how it's the journey that's the fun part. Like if you go on this massive weight loss transformation, the fulfillment, yes, it's going to be freaking hard, but the fulfillment you're going to experience throughout from watching yourself level up in this way and proving to yourself how capable and badass you are, that's going to give you energy in a way that you potentially have never experienced, and proudness and fulfillment, and just you're going to inspire everyone around you because that's not easy. Let's say you're at 25% body fat and you want to get down to 18% body fat. It depends on how much in a caloric deficit you are, but it's possible to do in 6 months with an intentional progressive overload training program, as well as a slight caloric deficit. Every single month, you will be able to see a progress. And I recommend going back to the tracking thing that I mentioned, how it's important to track. If you're someone who wants to build muscle, lower your body fat percentage, I really recommend getting a body spec test. It also tests your bone density, which is really important that you have a good bone density. But the thing about getting a body scan that can measure body fat percentage is that it's fun to have that clarity on where am I now and where is it that I want to go. And that way you can track. I only recommend this if you have a good relationship with food. I don't want you to do this if you've been dealing with any type of eating disorders. But if you are someone who's like, you know what, I love my body, but I just want to get in better shape. I want to see what it's like. I want to try and get a 6-pack. Let's do it. Let me see where I'm at. And from this body scan, then I can see where I want to go from here. My friend actually just messaged me this morning. She'd gotten one because we'd been training together and I told her maybe that would be fun for her. She's got an incredible body fat percentage and she's like, okay, so what I really want to do now is I want to increase my muscle mass. And like, that's an incredible goal. And now because she's gotten the scan, she can then measure that in a month from now, see like how far she's come, which is awesome. And that actually leads me, I remember I saw a question. We could take this as the last one. Actually, we'll take 3. One is, do you have your period? Yes, and it has not been this consistent in a long time. I do have an IUD as well, which tends to make your period a little inconsistent, but for a long time now, my period has been really consistent. So the next one was, how are your macros? So I've been tracking for a long time. So I don't like track, but I have an eyeball idea of what my macros look like. I'm pretty active right now, and maybe 2,400 is like around where it's at per day, I could imagine. And I eat probably around 160 grams of protein, and carbs and fats is just kind of whatever, because I just eat whatever I eat. I love eating lean meats. I do eat steak. I do eat chicken. I do eat egg whites, vegetables, some fruit, oatmeal, a lot of oatmeal. I put cocoa powder in there. I'll have some protein powder with that sometimes. I'll eat a little bit of Greek yogurt. I've realized with me, too much of it isn't too good for me. So everything in moderation. Yeah, I keep it pretty simple. I love my salads after my workouts. And when I say salad, like I'll also put pasta in there or whatever, but I'll often mix it from whatever grocery store I go to afterwards. Because here in America, you can like make your own salads from like Whole Foods or Gelson's or Amazon, which I know is not the greatest of meats, for example. It could be better, but the meat I make at home, I make sure is pasture raised and organic and all of that stuff. So that's my macros. There was one last one, which I wanted to do. Do you change your routine to adjust for your monthly cycle? If so, how? I don't change my routine other than the fact that if I'm feeling super low on energy, I just give myself love. I just, I do the best that I can in my workout. And that's what I tell myself. Pernilla, you're just going to show up and do the best that you can. I think self-love is knowing when to push yourself past our limits and know when we're being lazy. But self-love is also knowing that on certain days, we just don't have as much to give. So for instance, let's say I have to do a leg day or I have to do the sprint a certain day and I'm feeling lower on energy. I tell myself, I'll just do the best that I can. And the beauty of that is actually I'll maybe walk into the gym being like, I'll just do the best that I can. And in my mind, I'm like, I won't be able to do a lot. But what more often than ever happens is that when I'm then in it, I end up doing far more than I thought I could. Like in my sprint, for example, when I then am in the midst of my sprints, it's the middle, I end up pushing myself maybe even further than I did the previous time. That's actually happened every single time while I've been doing the sprint. Every single time it's gotten better, even on the days where I felt that I've had less energy. But I think that's maybe me knowing that I'll feel so good if I do end up pushing myself, but I always end up feeling really good afterwards. However, on leg days, let's say, and I'm feeling weak due to my period, I'll just do the best that I can. Yes, I'm not even close to being as strong as I was the previous week, for example, but I did the best that I could, and I'm going to be proud of myself, and I'm going to go eat a post-workout meal that's going to make me feel amazing, and I'm going to be proud that I even showed up. I do try to be aware of not telling myself, oh, I'm in this phase of my period, so I am going to be weak. I believe our mind is so powerful. So being aware that if I tell myself I'm going to be weak, I'm going to be weaker. However, if I tell myself, oh, you can do this easily, it's going to feel so much easier. So it's about not lying to ourselves, being very honest with ourselves, but also not putting something onto us that may not actually be accurate, right? I hope that makes sense. This was the one. Do you struggle with body image? I have been reflecting on this, and I feel very lucky with how I was raised. In Denmark, now it's more rare, but when I grew up, it was very normal that everyone was just naked at the beach, as in adults, children, people were just naked. At least I see footage from when I was a kid and that was the case. And there are many nude beaches in Denmark too. But also just in my household, like my dad would walk around naked, my mom would walk around naked. And I know that this is like, for someone who's grown up in America, I know it's very, very different here. So here people would be like, what in the world? That is so weird. But I just have such normal, neutral relationship with the human body. And I was a chubby kid, and I was also at certain stages of my teenagerhood time was chubby. And I don't ever recall like having a negative body image. I think there's a big difference between like, oh, I've gained weight, I actually want to lose some weight to feel at my best, to look at my best, or to actually being like, you look ugly or I don't like you body. I didn't like myself at the time. So that's different. Like me as a human, I did not like myself. I did not love myself. I had a lot of self-hatred. But I think that's very different to body image. I didn't necessarily love how I looked. That's not what I mean either. I just was very neutral about it. And I think I've stayed stayed pretty neutral about it in certain ways. Like I've had times where I've looked at my body and wanted certain things to change. Actually, maybe that's not true. I think in certain stages of my life, I have had a negative body image. But if we're looking at me now and we're looking at me as a child and as a teenager, when I was chubby, I've had a very good body image. I think there probably was a time when I was at my skinniest, or when I was skinnier than I am now. Now I'm more normal. At that time, I probably had a negative body image in the sense that it was a big obsession for me. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel. But right now, even though I weigh more than I have in I don't know how many years, I feel very good. There's always things that I feel like I can work on, but that's fun for me. It's the same in my career. I'm so grateful for the career I've had and every success I've created and the community and the messages that I share. I'm so proud of myself. I'm proud of everything about that. But I have so many more things I want to do. Same, like I love my body, everything that it's for, but I still have goals that I want to accomplish. I feel like it's like that with all areas of my life. I always want to grow and get better. I want to have gratitude for what I have. And then I want to also grow and get better. I think that Brooke just texted me, which this will be the episode that's going to come out on Thursday. So this one comes out Monday and this one's going to come out Thursday, and you're going to want to give it a listen because this is probably one of the strongest women that I have ever actually gotten to speak with. And she has so much beautiful knowledge when it comes to both building muscle, but also gut issues. And we've done this episode before, but my camera died. So we're doing it again, which I'm grateful I get to chat with her again, but also so that you guys can give it a listen. So if you're not yet subscribed, please give my podcast episode a follow. Feel free to write a review. That helps me a lot. And if you want to join my challenge, my February challenge starts very, very soon. And every month I will be hosting new challenges so that you can join and we can grow and level up together and have conversations like these. I answer literally every single question that is asked in there. I'm really, really on in the community every single day. And we have our weekly conversations and daily chats and workout program, nutritional guidance. All of my recipes are in there. Oh, there was a question that was where to find my pizza recipes. I give away my pizza recipes for free on Instagram, as well as a lot of other recipes. But if you want like 300 plus recipes, nutritional guide, journaling challenges, all that, you should join my next transformation challenge. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Make sure to take care of yourself today. And as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm. Bye.